is an issue we often cover on this programme, and a big study has come out today showing that 1 in 8 children and young people between the ages of 5 and 19 had a mental disorder in 2017. That's according to the findings by NHS Digital. And for the first time, the study also looked at children aged between 2 to 4, and it found that 5.5% of preschoolers had a mental health issue. 5.5%. Out of those in their late teens, women aged 17 to 19 were twice as likely as men of that age to have an emotional disorder or to self-harm. Let's talk to Catherine Nixon, who has had OCD and anxiety from the age of 7. Also with us, Danielle Forbes, whose 10-year-old daughter Deanne had counselling at school when she was 7. Anne Longfield is the Children's Commissioner for England. And Dr. John Goldin is here, Vice Chair of the Child and Adolescent Faculty at the Royal College of Psychiatrists. Welcome, all of you. I wonder if I could, first of all, get your reaction, John Goldin and Anne Longfield, to the fact that 5.5% of 2 to 4-year-olds, according to these findings today, have a mental health issue.
Yeah, that is very concerning. I should say that the earlier survey in 2004 didn't look at 2 to 4-year-olds, so this is the first survey that has looked at that age group. And young people in that age group can suffer from anxiety problems, emotional problems, behavioural problems, and it's very important to intervene at that age in order to prevent these problems becoming more entrenched and more problematic at a later age.
Anne Longfield, how do you react to that figure?
Well, of course, they're hugely concerning. The figures overall are very worrying, but I think it is right that this is the first time we've looked at this. Also, we're much more able to talk about these issues now. We know that a lot of very young children are living in households where parents have their own problems, and clearly that has an impact on them. But it's also right that because we know, we can intervene earlier, which will make all the difference.
Catherine, thank you so much for coming on our programme talking to us. Your OCD started at around the age of 7. How has that affected you as you were growing up?
So, I think at the time I didn't really realise how it affected me. I kind of just thought it was normal. And when I was around 7, I think it seemed as if it was a phase because, it kind of just eventually fizzled out. But it wasn't until I was doing GCSEs and I was around 16 that it literally just kind of spiraled out of control and got very much like in the way of normal day-to-day life.
What kind of things were you doing?
So I think the main thing that I was doing that was taking up so much of my time is that I have a morning routine, which I still have now, but it's a lot better than what it was. And at the worst, it was taking me 7 hours. So I would get up at 7 in the morning and I'd be out of the bathroom at 2. And that's not a morning routine, that's like literally a day. Like it's, it took so much out of me.
How easy or otherwise was it to get help?
So it started to get worse during like first bit of year 12, and I'd had counselling from like low-level CBT, but that just wasn't really cutting it, and I didn't really know where to go. No one had really told me about CAMS. I guess I kind of just assumed that
That's the Child and Adolescent Mental Health Services.
Yeah, I guess I kind of just assumed that I wasn't bad enough to get in there, and then it wasn't until things got to its absolute worst, when I was in and out of A&E, that I eventually got into CAMS, and they were like, you're a bit too severe for us, we're going to have to send you to a psychiatric unit, where I was for 6 months.
Okay. Let me ask you about your little girl who had counselling age 7. What was that for, if you don't mind me asking?
At the age of, it probably happened before then, she had low self-esteem, no confidence, and she hated herself. She didn't find herself pretty, said, no one will ever like me, I won't have friends, and as a mum, you want to intervene and you want to make it better, but there are times when you know that she needs some more help. And I was very lucky because Deanne, in school, they have a place called Place to Be, and you can go in, it's kind of like a counselling for children, and she went in and spoke to someone, and she used to go every Wednesday, and it really, really did help.
And she's 10 now?
She's 10 now.
How is she?
She's very good. She talks about it quite fondly. They gave her a lot of coping mechanisms, So whenever she used to get angry or upset, she would go to her box, which she made in place to be, and it would kind of calm her down. But she is great now. She's not 100%, but she's a lot better.
A lot of progress has been made.
Yes.
Anne Longfield, your office has a report out today saying that the government is making progress when it comes to mental health services for children, but that a seismic shift in ambition, quote, is needed to meet demand. Had the government not cut the funding of mental health services by 8% since 2010, how different would that position be now? Actually, we've just lost it, so I'll ask John Golding that question, if I may. I mean, the government have cut 8% of funding mental health services since 2010. They've now started to put money in to try and improve things, but what difference did those cuts make?
Well, they made very significant differences, and I think it's really tragic that young people have not been receiving the kind of help that they need. The government is currently aiming to treat about a third of young people with mental health problems in the next 5 years or so, and we at the Royal College of Psychiatrists are calling for more ambition, that we should be aiming to treat at least 70%, even 70% would leave a third of young people not treated. And you can imagine if that was young people with, for example, cancer, there'd be a real national outcry. So why are we allowing so many young people with mental health problems not to get the help that they need?
The government said it was investing an extra 1.4 billion in child mental health services until 2020. Is that going to be enough, Anne Longfield?
Clearly there is progress being made, but it's baby steps, and it's only in recent years there's been that recognition that this is such a scale of issue. In my view, it won't be enough. It needs to be an absolute national priority, and we need to just stretch every sinew to really offer all children the help they need.
This texter says, my child has anxiety and that makes him vomit, and he has OCD. Trying to get help when he's at crisis point is impossible, with months to wait for an appointment. We've been trying to help him for 5 years and only just started receiving CBT for him. This texter says, what can I do when I worry about the mental health of my stepchildren aged 7 and 5 who live with their mum? The 5-year-old has become very controlling about what they will and won't eat, and the 7-year-old constantly lies about being hurt, I think, for attention. Rachel says, why is mental health still a taboo subject in children? And many mainstream schools just see them as naughty children, and parents are blamed for lack of parenting skills. And this message on Twitter, my 7-year-old daughter cut her wrists with scissors in school. Cams said her case was not serious enough. I mean, there's some really distressing stories here from viewers. Catherine, how much help was it to you to be admitted to a psychiatric ward as a teenager?
So I think at the point they had said in CAMS that having, community-based CBT would not have helped, and if it had, it would have taken months and months and months. So I think it was kind of almost the last straw, and it took me out of the situation that I was in, and I can't really explain it in words. It was just great. Like, I don't know. I can't explain it in words, but the amount of care and attention that was taken to my case, and the amount of progress I made after a little bump, I made so much progress, and I came out of the other end in such a better place than I was when I went in.
And that is brilliant to hear, because John, we don't often hear positive stories when it comes to people accessing mental health services. It's often stories, as I've just read from our viewers, about people waiting and desperate, actually. People get desperate.
People do get absolutely desperate, but it is lovely to hear your story, Catherine. I run an inpatient unit myself, and I know the excellent work that gets done on inpatient units and community CAM services as well. People are working very hard around the country, but they're under-resourced and they're very stretched, and that means, unfortunately, that people who need help are not always getting it. So we really have a significant job to do.
Do you think we'll reach the stage when the money put into children's mental health services will match the money put into adult mental health services?
I certainly hope so. I mean, at the moment there's a kind of double jeopardy, as it were, for children's mental health services, because mental health services get underfunded compared with physical health services, but children's make up 20% of the population, but they're getting less than 10% of the mental health funding. So we need to be rebalancing that and investing for the future. We know, for example, that 50% of adult mental health problems start by the age of 14. So if we can invest in our young people, then we can prevent problems in the longer term.
Thank you all. Thank you very much for coming on the programme. Really appreciate your time. Anne Longfield, Children's Commissioner for England. John Golden, Vice Chair of the Child and Adolescent Faculty at the Royal College of Psychiatrists. Catherine Nixon, thank you so much. I appreciate, I know that was difficult for you, but I absolutely appreciate you coming on the programme. And Danielle Forbes, thank you. Thank you. We had hoped